Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined by Scott Spreitzer and Brian Leonard. We're going to preview Georgia Southern at West Virginia. This is going to be Scott's video best bet of the week. And Scott, I got to tell you, for West Virginia, this is one of those good news, bad news type of deals. Defensively, they bring back 9 starters from last year. That's the good news. The bad news is this is a defense that gave up 24 or more points in 9 of its 13 games last year. In 6 of the 9, they gave up 31 or more. So I don't know really if it's great that they're all coming back.
You run into that every year. I mean, UAB a few years ago, I think they had all 22 starters coming back or something, but they stunk. Was that a good thing sometimes? But yeah you're right. This West Virginia team, this is interesting because I'm big on the line movements. This line movement on this game is bounced around like the stock market has lately. It's just 1 minute everybody's on West Virginia. Next time some money comes out on the other side. It'll be interesting where this thing settles.
Oh, it's kind of funny because when we, talked about the day before, what games we're going to use for games that we want to sink our teeth into, and this being the best bet for me, I think it was 19.5 when I sent it to you, and probably an hour later, I think I saw as low as 17.5. I know I saw 18s, and then back up to 19.5 24 hours later. My feeling about this one is there's a little bit too much being made out of the suspension of starting quarterback Kevin Ellison, starting quarterback for Georgia Southern. He's very good at what this team wants to do, which is run the football in a lot of different ways. But this kid, Fabian Upshaw, who's going to be playing in these first 2 games while he's suspended, played a lot last year. In fact, he had big rushing games in a couple of games last year, including one against Navy. And this is a team, they just don't get worried when they go into a big venue or a so-called, elite level, let's say, conference opponent. We saw them last year, 20-point underdog out of the blocks. Take NC State to the brink, lost 24-23. They took on a good Georgia Tech team last year. They were 17, 18-point underdogs in that one. They gave Georgia Tech all they could handle. It was a 42-38 final score in favor of the Yellow Jackets. Willie Fritz has 8 starters coming back on defense for Georgia Southern. He knows how to win big games. And you're right. It's funny. I used to talk to the late Mike Lee about these things. He was really into the returning starters. We'd say, but is it good news or is it bad news that 8 or 9 guys are coming back from a defense that got run on like crazy and gave up 30 points per game 7 or 8 games last year? So, I just think there's just a little bit too much being made out of this quarterback situation.
And, one thing that we always talk about, and, Brian, when we did the videos last year, a lot of games we would say, when you're in season and you're playing a team that runs an offense that you don't see a lot. It's tough to prepare for a quirky offense in 1 week. For that, we will say West Virginia catches a break that this is the first game of the season because they had all spring practices and everything to prepare for this offense. But even with that said, if you look back at the history of West Virginia, and I know teams change in college football, the turnovers and everything, but this is a number that's kind of hard to ignore. West Virginia, as a favorite, has failed to cover the spread 17 of the last 21 times that they've been installed as a favorite. That's a big number to ignore, Scott.
Well, I also think, you look at the opposite side of the football for West Virginia, and everybody expects when they take the field there's going to be a 49-45 shootout in a lot of the Big 12 games they play. They've got to get used to some new wide receivers. They got a big wide receiver that they lost as far as the amount of catches made last year, the amount of yardage, and I'm talking about Kevin White, who's a big kid who can not only run for speed but can also break tackles, who went 7th in the draft to the Chicago Bears and is going to be playing on Sundays. That's a huge target that West Virginia is not going to have in the early going. I agree with you. It's a situation where West Virginia can spend a little bit extra time on Georgia Southern than if this was weeks 5 and 6 or something like that during the season. But again, I think that defense is going to have some problems in this one. I'm not saying they're going to lose outright, but I think there's going to be some problems.
All right, this is your best bet. How are you calling it?
I think I just gave it away for the last couple of minutes. My best bet on this particular game, I'm saying to take the points, the 19.5, which you can find with Georgia Southern. I think they're going to keep this game close. I think it's going to be not unlike last year's game against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets when we saw them push them and take them within 4 points, and the same with NC State. There's too many points here. I think West Virginia is going to find a way to win, but maybe by 10.
All right, there you go. And you got check Scott out this weekend. He's got some plays going. You've got a 5% play on Friday night. I know this is a Saturday video, but never fear. If you miss his 5% play on Friday, you're going to have a 4% play on Saturday, another strong play for the opening card. And I like the fact the way you search out and isolate those couple, strong plays. You're not a guy that's all over the board, and you find the good ones for the clients, and that's why you're off to the great start. And good luck this weekend.
Thank you, sir.
All right, check out all of our videos this weekend for the games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at wagertalk.com.